Hey, welcome YouTube crew and all you fitness noobs out there. Let's start with talking about how to breathe. Now, pardon the snot, but it reminds me that you should be breathing through your nose. I know it sounds crazy, right? Yeah, nose breathe, including on exhalation. I know a lot of meditation noobs are like, inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Okay, would you like less effective blood oxygen by lowering your nitric oxide levels? Yeah, you should be exhaling through your nose. Why? Because most of the gas coming out in exhalation is still nitrogen, just like inhalation gas. You really don't even deplete the amount of oxygen very much when you inhale, even if you hold your breath. But the point is, when you exhale, your body creates nitric oxide, which goes into your bloodstream, and there are cells in your sinuses that increase nitric oxide content. So please learn to breathe. I mean, we should teach kids this early in life, obviously, because you want nitric oxide. Ask any bodybuilder about nitric oxide or endurance athlete. They probably know as well how important it is for things like your athletic performance. So let me allow people to join the chat and join the stream and perhaps see that it exists. That's always good. Now, I just got back from a rather lengthy winter wonderland hike. It was about 2 miles and change, and it's pretty lovely. Another thing to know about cold weather fitness stuff is that when you're outside in very cold temperatures, the proton content is very high. Ooh, yeah, the proton content. Are you scared of protons? I mean, literally, there are more molecules and atoms in the air. So you've got higher proton contents, which means you've got higher oxygen levels, higher real oxygen levels. So while your athletic performance suffers due to lung capacity under about 42 degrees Fahrenheit, you still benefit from the really high oxygen content. See all the montages in Rocky 4 for details, okay? When Rocky was out there lifting logs and, living in Siberia so he can beat up Ivan Drago, that stuff is real. So, your off-season recovery and cross-training and so on really benefits from being outside. Like, it's not just because of the aspects of being in nature. There are chemical things involved too. You've got higher air viscosity, so like your bike goes more slowly. Your bike is slower on a cold day. Because the main thing holding you back on a bike is air resistance. A bicycle is like an air trainer. So it's mainly air that is holding you back. And I mean, look, these are just facts, so don't get too mad about them. But I've been doing this a while, so I know a bit about these things. And we'll talk space weather here. And but I'm going to start cooking some eggs because, again, just completed a lengthy hike. So press the share button if you're viewing in syndication, because nobody is currently viewing the live. So, the videos are default monetized. They should play ads. YouTube should be incentivized to promote the channel and the videos. Out here citing facts. I know facts are extremely controversial still, but yeah, facts about space weather and so forth. No alarmist propaganda or cult nonsense. Because remember, folks, let's talk about cults. A cult has to have a living leader, believe nonsense, and be harmful. That's all. There are a lot of them. Hopefully you're not in one. So again, press the share button, leave a comment, tell your friends and foes about the channel, and I'll be cooking eggs right here just before I cover the space weather. So stay tuned for that. Leave a comment, whether it's live or in syndication.
We do see and read all comments, even if we find ourselves unable to respond to them all. So, let's do it. It's 3 eggs time. A 3 eggs time. Yes. I already had some carbs. I had carbs before I went out for like an hour-long hike. So there's that. You know, we really love living in poultry country, okay? Because Eastern PA certainly has a lot of chicken and turkey farms, and you know, you can get goose eggs and duck eggs and all kinds of things in Lehigh Valley. And a dozen eggs never really got as expensive here as they did in a large portion of the civilized world. So we're very thankful for that. I mean, we live like 20 miles from Pennsylvania's Fertile Crescent, known as Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, also Lebanon County, Berks County, Pennsylvania. I mean, there are a lot of Amish and Mennonite farms within a short drive from our location. So we can get all kinds of fresh stuff from local farms right down the road. I mean, fresh eggs, like all kinds of stuff. This is not like the rest of the country, all right? We don't see the same type of price inflation here on groceries. Now, some groceries, sure, like if you want to buy oranges or something like that, I mean, they're super expensive. Orange juice is super expensive everywhere, probably. I don't know. I mean, I've got some concentrate in the freezer. In fact, I've got some concentrate in the fridge. So, I mean, there is some price inflation, but there are good spots for all kinds of things. Beef, chicken, pork, like all of that fresh type stuff around here is spectacular. And, you know, if you live an hour away from Lehigh Valley, you might not be able to get it because the Lehigh Valley is massive, has millions of people, and, you know, it has massively inflated real estate prices. So that causes people from all around the country and indeed world to want to buy real estate here just as an investment, because it's going to keep, like, it's not going to keep going up forever, all right? Because right now the prices are so high that, I mean, interest rates are going to affect things, but right now we have like a real estate bubble and a stock market bubble. So something's going to break. It's just not going to be me. All right, so we'll talk space weather briefly here, but it's pretty chill. I mean, we've got a coronal hole high-speed stream on the way in a day or two. But besides that, I haven't heard anything about any new, like, CMEs on the way. But we'll take a brief look at it to appease your fears and concerns, of which there shouldn't be many about space weather, because the sun's not going to kill you. The sun's not going to end civilization. So, like, I don't know, just deal with it. Like, a lot of people, they want to see civilization end because they're sick of big tech and technology and all this stuff, as they tweet from their Apple and Android devices. Sorry, folks, civilization's not ending. Like, space weather's not going to destroy all the satellites. Space weather's not going to destroy all the electronics. It's just not a thing. It's not a thing. So, you can type Niyaki events in the comments all you like, and it doesn't change jack. All right, so, anyway. Space weather. Let's talk about things like how many sunspots we got, what the radio flux is, and all types of stuff like that, right? Relevant space weather data, the solar wind, things like that. Not how the galaxy is going to destroy the world or something. All right. So, what's good? I'll tell you what's good is PCs that don't run Windows, because they tend to function. So I have to reboot mine now, probably because Windows, I don't know, it's going to sit there for 20 minutes and be like, time to update. I mean, Microsoft preventing you from using your own devices, going all the way back to the 1990s, I would imagine. Like Windows 98 had planned obsolescence. Windows ME, one of the biggest debacles in OS history, probably had planned obsolescence. I don't know. I don't even care because Microsoft has been a laughing stock since its founding, really. I mean, talk about copy pasting other people's code. Like Bill Gates. What a class act. Anyway, yeah, Microsoft, it's bad. Like, look at, oh, hey, we're going to let you use your own device in an undisclosed period of time. Like, your PC won't even connect to the internet until updates are installed. And Windows doesn't even have the courtesy to tell you that you can't connect to the internet because it needs to install updates. It's broken, like it's broken on the Android level of being broken. All of these pioneers, all these tech wizards in AI, which is also not a thing because there's nothing resembling intelligence in their code. All of these wizards, they're like, we can't produce an OS or an app that's bug-free, but we're going to create a utopia with AI. Like, really? Like, who buys this? Who buys this? The same people that buy oceanfront property in Arizona, that's who buys it. A bunch of gullible dum-dums who don't understand anything about, like, code, computers, hardware, software, just in general. It's adorable that so many, like, tech bros out there, they're like, bro, it's going to be a utopia, bro. AI is going to destroy mankind, bro. We're living in a simulation. I can prove it. Elon Musk said so, bro. It's just sleepy time. It's so tiring. Like, I can't tolerate it. It's so many idiots. They're like, I know more about computers than you because I'm younger than you are. Is that your theory? Like, that's a bad theory. I could probably build a computer by mining rocks and refining the silica myself. At least it would be bug-free. It wouldn't be able to do a lot of calculations. At least it would be bug-free. You hear that? Microsoft, Apple, Google. Of course they don't hear it. Of course they don't. They wouldn't want their investors to know that their OSs don't function. I mean, like Apple, Adobe, Microsoft, Google, they all build their software so that it like conflicts with other software on purpose. But like, if you're not running our OS for iTunes, like try running iTunes on an Android. Try running, you know, Google Maps on an Apple. Like, it's all f***ed up. It's all f***ed up. Like, there's no backwards compatibility anymore. You buy an Xbox version of GTA 5 and it doesn't work on the new versions. Like, who came up with this? None of this stuff is acceptable when it comes to computing. It's remember the 80s and 90s and early 2000s when virtually all software that was commonly used was bug-free? Show me a bug-free piece of software. Show me. Look, still waiting for Microsoft to simply boot my computer. They stopped providing support in October for Windows 10, and yet my computer binds up constantly because it's waiting for updates. What the f*** is that? Like, Microsoft has zero credibility. Zero. Just like Google and just like Apple. Stop holding hardware hostage. Like, how many computers do you own that you can't use? Seriously, do you have a drawer full of old smartphones? Guess what? They all probably still work. I mean, what can I say? Install an OS that fucking functions on it. Look at this. Please wait. Microsoft, it's like 100-year-old, it's like a 1,000,000-year-old dinosaur. Please wait. Like, as soon as you boot up the computer, it should make the sound of like a creaking ship that's about to like break apart in the ice or something. Like, what? Microsoft, it's as broken as Google and Apple. They're all like, what? I mean, Google's the worst, okay? Google is the worst because they have the buggiest OS, the buggiest apps, and the most computers running in the world. Hey, I just figured something out, folks. Check this out. My PC, it runs better when I plug in the Ethernet cable. Yeah, I unplugged it from the internet yesterday because it would not run. So I don't know. It might have been Microsoft OneDrive. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, I'm at a loss. Enjoy your computer. We'll be holding it hostage forever and corrupting the hard drive so that you can't boot it into Windows anymore. We're Microsoft. That's Google. Like, that's Apple. It's all trash. Like, dudes, run Linux. Run Linux. Your devices will magically function again. It'll be amazing. You'll be so excited. Hey, look, we've booted into an OS, folks. It's the SNN test pattern. Oh, yes. How good is that? Yes. I mean, that's yes. Just a big fat yes. I've regained access to my own device. Isn't that special? Ah, thank you, Microsoft. Fine job out there. Fine job. Can anybody look up the 2020, let's see, how about the 2025 Q3 revenue for Microsoft? Like, I would like to know. I want to know how much money Microsoft is taking in per quarter. I'm not going to look it up because I don't care enough to send the very best. But you know, you should look it up. Because if you're running a PC that runs Microsoft, with all that revenue, why can't they write software that functions and that's backwards compatible and that doesn't cause all of your devices to become planned obsolescent? Like, it's just pathetic. I mean, there's no excuse for it. This is 2025. We're going to have an AI utopia and we can't have a fucking bug-free app? Are you shitting me? Like, you're shitting me. I feel like I'm being squeezed by your ass. Oh, Microsoft is telling me to turn on Windows Security Center. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to solve everything. Windows Security Center. It does anything besides bind up your computer, right? What a joke. I mean, oh, wait. Thank you, Microsoft. Thanks for the pop-up message there. I really believe anything that you ever say. When you certainly mislead investors. How is your board not being investigated by the SEC? You know, the Securities and Exchanges Commission. You ever hear of that? Yeah. It's the regulatory body that, among many other things, enforces things like insider trading, but more importantly, enforces the misleading of investors, which is illegal. So like when the front office personnel, like the CEO and COO and chief comms officer and chief financial officer and the board, you know, when all of those entities within these giant multinational corporations, when they lie to intentionally mislead investors, they're intentionally misrepresenting material facts, which is called fraud. And when they defraud the investors, that's an actual crime where you can go to prison, you know, like Martha Stewart did for insider trading. It's just as illegal to lie to your investors. So like if you own Tesla stock, the self-driving car utopia is a pipe dream and you've been misled. Like, it's a crime. Google 100% misleads investors. They think they're getting objective search results. I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah, Google, it provides objective search results in your wildest dreams. All right, so let's take a look at the sun here. We're going to back this up to just like today's data. I know I've been absent a couple days because, look, life happens and I have to prioritize things that pay money. And this does not pay jack. This is basically public service. And we are not a charitable organization yet. Oh, what the hell, dude? What a fucking piece of shite. Why is it not updated? It just sat there and loaded. Oh my gosh. What a joke. Is it showing the latest data or not? Yes, it looks like it is. Fantastic. Like it's so much to ask for. So we do have a massive prominence up here. Look at this insane prominence in CME coming from the far side. That's not going to have Earth-directed components, most likely. Very unlikely for that to have anything. Yeah, fun fact, omission. Exactly right, Kenneth Small 8038. That's exactly right. Omission. That is like, yeah, not providing the information. That is one of the crimes that certain companies are committing constantly that misleads investors. They're not telling you things that they ought to. And there's a huge bubble in the NASDAQ. Yeah, the companies are overvalued a lot. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to step away because I think my eggs are done. So I'm going to let this video here play for a minute because it's so lengthy. But yeah, astute point there, Kenneth Small 8038. Fun fact, omission, exactly. And look, you could say, oh, I forgot, I didn't know. But if there's emails because your entire server got subpoenaed, then guess what? They're going to know because nothing, nothing dies. Nothing digital dies anymore. There's Wayback Machines for like every iteration of every website in the universe. And it's best of luck trying to hide from accountability. Those of you who would like to, because it's not going to work. BRB, y'all. Yeah, folks, I totally understand why many of you probably would like to see civilization go back to the Stone Age, because with the state of affairs, with the pathetic censorship on the internet, And the internet has basically been destroyed for like half a decade at this point. It barely functions. Like the basic function of a search engine is no longer to be taken for granted because it barely works. But anyway, let's talk space weather briefly here. And oh, what the f is your fucking problem, dude? Seriously? Your connection is not private. What the f? Like, are you shitting me? Not one app, website, program, server, OS is bug-free. Not one. What the hell are you talking about? Your connection is not private. Nobody gives a f if it's private. I wanted to look at cosmic ray flux. Jackass. What the hell? It's like they changed their server settings. Guess what? Cosmic ray flux is still at a 20-year low, indicating that solar cycle 25 is a stronger solar cycle 20. Solar cycle 25 is a stronger solar cycle than solar cycle 23. And here's the proof. Boom. Cosmic ray flux lower than it was in solar cycle 23. The average low spot here is lower than it was between 2000 and 2005. We haven't seen these levels of cosmic ray flux since 2004. So this is not only comparable to solar cycle 23 in terms of the emission of solar plasma. Solar cycle 25 is a stronger cycle than solar cycle 23. Read them and weep. These are facts. This is the only known cosmic ray point source. By the way, the X-ray emissions from cosmic ray point source Cygnus X3, the high mass X-ray binary. This is the 1 year. This is the 1 day. And this is the going back to 20 years to 2004. Enjoy. Here's the Huxt forecast for incoming space weather. And while there is a coronal hole high-speed stream that's going to arrive in a couple of days, it's not going to be long or strong because it's a pretty small trans-equatorial coronal hole. So we'll see a blip on it, but the uptick in the solar wind's probably going to last something like 12 to 18 hours max. Here's our space weather variable 010, the most important one, arguably in space weather, would be the sunspot number, which is currently at about 79 sunspots. 79 is the sunspot number. Radio flux of the 10.7 centimeter variety is at about 118 solar flux units according to solon.info/solar. That black line, the 10.7 centimeter radio flux. Should be able to see that awesome CME on the coronagraph by now. So let's take a look at that. There you go. There's some eye candy for you. Some harmless solar fireworks. And back in the background here, this is Venus, which is on the far side of the sun, if memory serves. Let's take a look at where planets are located, since we're looking at a planet right there on the coronagraph. I like to use theplanetstoday.com. It's pretty good, especially when it loads. That's optimal. But when it doesn't, it's not that good. There we are. That's where planets are located today. As you can see, Venus is on the far side. Mars may also be visible on your coronagraph once it emerges from being behind the sun. It's so close to being at opposition here, or conjunction, or whatever the hell it's called. I could care less because that's astrology terminology, and it's completely irrelevant to anything resembling actual science. Yeah, the location of planets, it has no predictive value of anything that I'm aware of, except where planets are located. Where it does allow us to predict where they'll be next. I mean, I don't know what good that does anybody. But yeah, let's talk about astrology. Are you using it to forecast stock prices or something like that? Because you shouldn't be. It's a really, really stupid thing to do. So please don't do it. I'm just refreshing a bunch of pages here because I've got a bunch of crap data. And I'm not going to show Twitter today if I can help it. Maybe I'll have to name a solar filament or something like that. If you've got comments about Comet Atlas, 3i Atlas, leave those in the chat. A lot of people out there saying it's a spaceship when it keeps acting exactly like a comet, especially a really ancient comet from outside the solar system. It acts exactly like that and nothing at all like a spaceship. I mean, at least not a spaceship that I would be in, because it would be a very comet-like spaceship. I guess if you made a spaceship to intentionally look like a comet, maybe that would be a thing. One of the dumbest things I've ever heard, really. I mean, like what? Let's make a spaceship look like a comet. I mean, we don't even know how to make spaceships very well. So there's that. Seems like a really idiotic thing to make a spaceship that looks exactly like a comet. Like, I don't know why anybody would do such a thing. Hey, look, it's Earth's jet streams. We'll cover some weather here toward the end of the video, but let's get back to space weather, because that's actually challenging to forecast, unlike Earth weather, which isn't challenging at all, at least on a 72-hour basis. Can you forecast your own weather on a 72-hour basis? If not, you should be able to, because it requires a junior high level understanding of physics, pretty much. I guess you could say you got to know college physics. I don't know. Like, it's not so hard to forecast your weather. I mean, even space weather is not that hard to forecast. But anyway, here is the space weather enthusiast's dashboard. And there's NOAA's forecast for space weather. A little bit of geomagnetic unrest tomorrow and not much else, because again, these are not earthly directed CMEs. So just a little bit of high-speed coronal hole wind coming. Nothing major. There's that eye candy we talked about. A big CME emanating from the far side of the closest star. Next, the real-time solar wind, which might refresh depending on how many times I press the fucking refresh button. But there's the one-day data, which is very spotty, it looks like. Current conditions are high-speed coronal wind stream. Coronal hole high-speed stream. So here was the density spike measured by Discover. It got up to about 10 protons per cubic centimeter. Then that dropped off down to more like, geez, I don't know, down to more like 1 proton per cubic centimeter, or maybe 2. Yes, Venus has volcanism on it. And then, and of course, on moons, you know, the most volcanically active body in the entire solar system is a Jupiterian moon. I don't know which one. But yeah, there's lots of volcanism in the solar system. Current wind conditions are for the solar wind 630 kilometers a second. So that is a legit high-speed wind. No spikes in the proton flux. No solar energetic particle events. Protons are at baseline levels. X-ray flux. Background flux is down to about a B6. X-ray flux B6. You haven't sunk my battleship. All right, let's take a look at the magnetic sector here. A lot of people are very spooked of magnetism because they don't understand it. Here's the magnetism of the solar system. And Earth is in the process of crossing into a North Pole-oriented magnetic sector. So when this coronal hole high-speed stream ends, there's going to be a rapid switchover. If it doesn't happen in the middle of the coronal hole high-speed stream. Yes. Here is our line of sight coronal hole plot. You'll see North Pole-oriented coronal holes rotating in here from the east. They are transequatorial, so a small uptick in the solar wind. Give it about 3 days, and it'll be similar to the one we see now, with different magnetism, because it's a different magnetic sector. As I said right there, Earth is moving to the North Pole sector as You're moving into a part of the solar system that's magnetized by these coronal holes, where the sun's magnetic field lines come all the way out and connect to the Earth's, as opposed to these coronal hole open field lines. They point opposite directions. These magnetic field lines point toward the Earth. These magnetic field lines point toward the sun. Next, North Pole versus South Pole magnetism. All right, let's look at magnetic fields. Again, sunspot number is pretty low here, all the way down to, what I say, 78 sunspots, something like that, sub 80 sunspots. And here they are in magnetogram, and they are not magnetically complex. I think they're alpha class. Here is just today's data from Cerro Tololo, Chile. And as you can see, they look pretty stable. We'll do a quick zoom. Pretty stable. Pretty stable. No major growth, no major degradation. New sunspots are rising up here in the northeast. These are ones to keep an eye on because we can tell that they are producing large filamentary loops in the solar corona. So let's show that briefly here with our 171 angstroms wavelength. Give it a minute to load. It might even actually do that. You never know. Don't rule out the possibility. Oh, you can do it. You can do it. I know you can do it. Come on, man. Maybe a lot of people looking right now because of these new active regions rising, but they're not very exciting. They don't look that crazy to me. I don't think that CME came from those areas. Let's see if we can get a bead on that. We should be able to see the CME. It's right in here. Ugh. I guess it wasn't fully loaded. I had to let it play through so that it's whatever. It's whatever. The player does work pretty good. I don't know why they've increased the time frame to 12 hours like this. But it does make things more convenient for space weather enthusiasts like you, because you can see more of the sun nice and conveniently just right here on the Space Weather Prediction Center. All right, so these CMEs, what the heck, man? What the heck? I guess there's missing data there. Really great timing for the missing data. Wonderful. Anyway, I don't think those CMEs came from this active region because we don't see a big intensification, and we can already see its coronal loops. So yeah, you load. You load there, player. Let's see if it actually plays through. You're not going to see a flare up here though, because that latest CME, it came from an area behind the sun, so not on a rising region. So you're not going to see a flare there. And yeah, there you go. You can see this CME from up here. That's from an area that is not yet visible from Earth. Continuing right along to close out the space weather portion of this video while we're still young. Some of us have no choice but to never grow up. Did you know that? You know, the reason that you stop playing is not because you get old. The reason you stop playing is because you've decided to, and you get old because you've stopped playing. All right, so here is our filamentary view. And as you can see, the Scott McIntosh filament is ready to blast off and strike Earth with a solar storm. So let's hope. If you want to name filaments after your friends, foes, or even yourself, do it on Twitter. x.com/smashomash. Just tag me in the tweet and assign the hashtag name that filament. Hashtag name that filament. America's favorite America's favorite fat time. America's favorite pastime, naming filaments after your friends, your foes, after living real people, not fictional characters, not historical figures who've died, living humans. Solar plasma filaments are very lively, and like living humans, so that's why we name them after people, like our friends, our foes, or even ourselves. One of my favorite solar physicists would be Scott McIntosh, so we named this one after Scott. You could call him Dr. McIntosh. Let's talk about the solstice as you're in the darkest 8 days of the year. If you look up the seasons, you'll find that Earth is about to be in winter, astronomic winter for the northern hemisphere. The darkest days of your lives. So yeah, the December solstice is coming. That is when the sun's rays are at their weakest for the northern hemisphere and their strongest for the southern at the December solstice. It's the shortest day, and it's even usually the shortest 2 days, but I digress. The December solstice, it's coming. You want to read facts about it? Try timeanddate.com. It ain't bad. You can give yourself a nice countdown timer. And here is one. It's only 4 days and not even 2 hours from winter. The darkest 8 days of the year, folks. The darkest 8 days of the year. Are you spooked? That's something to be spooked of. Oh my God, it's the darkest 8 days of the year. Just like every other year at this time of year. All right, so let's move on here. We're going to talk Earth weather for a brief moment, but let's close out space weather first. Electron flux here, moving back into electron storm levels. Expect major GPS errors. There are a lot of free electrons in between your GPS satellite, which is way up at 23,000 miles of altitude or something like that. There's what the ionosphere looks like. There is nothing. There's the nothing. This is supposed to be anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. There you go. There's the anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. And again, expect major GPS errors. Let's take a look at the sun rising over the blue globe. Of course, it is in grayscale. We'll include, how about 30 frames? I ask out of politeness because this is a space weather dictatorship as we transition to Earth weather. Something far too easy to forecast to be serious about. But we cover it anyway briefly because those of us who understand the physics ought to cover Earth weather because then some of you may be able to forecast yours. As you can see, that's becoming a very tilted line, but only for about 4 more days. Then this line will start to tilt the other way as the sun returns to the north. Shout out to Kimberly. Fromunda. Yeah, Kimberly Fromunda. Next, water vapor map for the U.S. That tells you a lot if you know what you're looking at. And it looks like some moist air here now making its way across the country as this atmospheric river has reached a very temporary conclusion. So you can see some dry mass of air here pushing it through. And then some cold Canadian air here pushing this down south. That'll lead to some reasons to put up forecasts, but here is the U.S. Doppler radar map. Feel free to load the map. That's okay, we'll wait. I'll press refresh in hopes that it loads. There you go. There is the U.S. Doppler radar map. Heaviest precip is currently moving into Wyoming from Idaho, and that looks like, geez, could be some thunder snow, but probably not. Just incredibly heavy weather, dude. Idaho Falls just got kaplastered, and there's another wave coming as they get trained. Let's take a look at temperature. Look at the gradients. Please function when I click the fkin map. Thanks. Why click a thing once when you can click it twice or thrice? Yeah, it's not bug-free. So here east of Denver, we've got 44 degrees. West of Denver, 8 degrees. That's a temperature gradient, right? And of course, Colorado is known for being the U.S. hot air capital. A lot of hot air and nonsense coming out of Colorado. A lot of douchebags in Colorado. A lot of woo-woo crystal worshiping idiots who don't know anything about science living in Colorado. And a lot of cultists in Colorado. Hopefully you're not a cultist. Here is our pressure map, and you can see low pressure dominating Western Canada and Northeastern Canada. But the real story is this low. This is absolutely brutal. 948 hectopascals. That is a deadly place to be on a boat. Hopefully you're not paddling a Viking longboat across the North Sea right now, because it's a bad time to do it. Let me extrapolate. Let me elaborate. Let's collaborate. Waves. There are some damn big ones. Check this out. You want to die on a boat? Get into some 45-foot waves. Look at that. That is a deadly place. If ever there has been one. 45-foot seas in the North Atlantic. Now, speaking of the North Atlantic, let's debunk Ben Davidson. Since Ben Davidson is an idiot who is as related to science as Metallica is to R&B, by talking about the cold blob in the North Atlantic. I just heard him yesterday talking about a cold blob in the North Atlantic. Guess what? That's not a thing. So let's go to nullschool.net to verify Ben's nonsense, which usually takes about 20 seconds. Here, let's count down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ding! Debunked. Where is the cold blob? Where is it? It doesn't exist. That's a real-time map, folks. Ben Davidson is an idiot and a cult leader, and he spouts nonsense and sells ridiculously marked up real estate to cultists. That is what Ben Davidson does, not science. So, just thought you might like to know. There's the sea surface temperature anomaly for the North Atlantic. Not good enough? Where's the cold blob? It's supposed to be south of Greenland, right? Oh, but look, there's a cold blob right here and a warm blob right next to it. Here's the sea surface temperature. Where's the cold blob? Let's look at the currents.
maybe the Gulf Stream's getting shut down. And oh no, maybe Europe's going to freeze because the Gulf Stream is going to shut down this winter. Right? Right? Okay, here are ocean currents. Well, they're still making it to Ireland and Iceland. They're making it all the way to Norway. So if the Gulf Stream's shutting down, why does this map show that it ain't? I'll tell you why it ain't. Because it's all a bunch of alarmist nonsense. Practically everything that idiots on YouTube want you to be afraid of is fake. Fake news. No cold blob, no cold water that's out of the ordinary in any way at this time of year, and no shutting down of jack shit in the North Atlantic. So if there are any cultists that are listening to this public service message, boing, boing, fuck off and exit your cult. Like, and by the way, if you want to debate science, you have to know science. If you want to debate, you have to know language. So if you're science illiterate, I'm not debating you on science. I'm lambasting you on social media. If you're regular illiterate, I'm not debating you on anything, but I'm lambasting you on social media. I will make fun of you forever in the comments thread. So by all means, bring on the comments. If you're mad about facts, bring on the fucking comments. If you think you're going to put me on blast, I will Mac attack on you until you delete your account. So good luck. I have a higher baud rate than you. Don't believe me? Test it. Test it. Light up the comments. Like, I dare you. All you will do is raise us up in the algorithm and make your heroes look even dumber. Look at the deadly precipitation coming to the Northwest. We're going to cover it. Total accumulated precip. Wait till you see this. This is going to be nasty. So please be prepped in a way that's coherent and sane. Okay? If you're prepping by joining a cult, you've fucked up your prepping. So if you've told everybody where your preps are, you've fucked up your prepping. Like, it has to be secret. If you have a public place that you're inviting people to and that's your fallback spot, you've fucked up your prepping and you're an idiot. Now that I got that out of my system, let's look at total accumulated precip. This looks like it's going to be bad. Here's your 72-hour forecast. We're going to look at hours 6 through 72. Oh, gosh. Yeah, that looks great. That is pushing 2 feet of rain coming to parts of Oregon. You better be prepared for that, or you will find yourself in the Pacific Ocean in no time. You want to slide off the continent by floating away? Fafo. Fafo. 10 inches of rain coming to a massive portion. Over a foot of rain coming to sections of Oregon. Be prepared for that. That is f'd up. Next, total positive snow depth change. Snow, it sticks around. It's sticking around here in Lehigh Valley and making for an Arctic mess. Fortunately, it's going to get warm in a couple days, and most of it, if not all, is going to melt. So here is your hours 6 through 72 forecast. Again, the GFS model, the last one we showed is a GFS. Here's the GFS for total accumulated snow depth change. And heavy snows there coming to Idaho and Wyoming especially. Also, Montana's going to get coated. North Dakota completely coated. Minnesota completely coated. Also, Wisconsin mostly coated there in Wisconsin.
Cheese is one of my favorite foods. We'll also look at, how about thermodynamics? We're going to look at temperature anomaly forecast now, since it's going to be anomalously warm in the east, which I'm excited about. It might encourage me to actually ride a bicycle. All right, so here's your temperature anomaly forecast for the 72-hour GFS model. Hopefully that helps you with your planning and strategy on life. You know, temperature, it's pretty important. Hopefully it doesn't control your life entirely, but yeah, hopefully you have the gear to be able to operate in the cold and in the hot. So a bunch of warm air here making its way across the country, and then a second wave. So we thank you, jet stream. Since the jet stream is what's responsible, let's close out the video with that. Upper dynamics, 250 millibar wind. Same model, GFS, hours 6 through 72, courtesy of tropicaltidbits.com. Use them to get your 72-hour forecasts as they are accurate. You'll find that they jive with the Euro and Icon models most of the time. But there you go. There is the jet stream. It's going to kink way back up into Canada. Canada, take your cold air and shove it up your... And it's time to close out this video. So while we do that, let's bring back our trusty GOES 19 SUVI imagery. Let's show 284 angstroms for a change. I love it. Your father loves it. Your Aunt Netta watches it every night on the VCR. I'll show you a finger, Trebek. You ever watch SNL Celebrity Jeopardy? It's pretty good. Anyway, there's the 284 angstroms view from the GOES 19 SUVI. That's one of the ionized iron spectra species that we show. And that's where we close this thing out. So thanks for tuning into the Daily Space Weather, folks. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Don't forget to press the share button, like, and subscribe, etc., as these videos are incredibly expensive to make. And we make, not only do we make nothing making this content, but it costs us a lot. So anyway, see you soon here at the Smash News Network. These plus the name of news. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And until next time, may that solar be at your back and that nonsense be absent from your YouTube feed.